If you're running Facebook ads in 2025, you need to hear this because the old way of running Facebook ads is killing your growth. You know the drill. You're testing random creatives, jumping on trendy hooks, and working with ad agencies that promise you a 10x return on ad spend in 2 weeks. But what actually happens is confusion, a lot of wasted money, a lot of wasted time, and you still don't know what is really working and why. The result is you're stuck with a very low creative hit rate. You keep throwing money at Meta, hoping that something will stick, but you're not really building any intelligence to scale predictably. Here's the thing, I've spent over 25 million on ads, and my current brand portfolio is spending over 2 million per month on ads. And from all those learnings, I've developed a systematic step-by-step process that changes everything. A system that uses every ad dollar efficiently, turns campaigns into hard learnings that you can use to reproduce success. This system is what enables brands to scale predictably while understanding what is actually working and what is not working. If you're tired of random testing, burning money, and feeling stuck, then this video will show you the best Facebook ad strategy for 2025. So if you want your next ad dollars to be the most profitable yet, close your phone, close all the tabs, and make sure you watch it until the end to get the full strategy. Let's jump right in. So here's what I will walk you through essentially. Number one, we will take a quick look at the old way that you're most likely familiar with and also the issues that come with working that way. And then I will show you the exact step-by-step way that I found through spending multiple millions, 25 millions over the last couple of years to get results predictably. I will also just tease you quickly how it looks like more in detail, which you could then look at in more detail on another video. But let's jump right in. The first thing is really the old way. Like, what do brands usually do? And I'm a brand founder myself, a brand owner myself, so I'm very familiar with this. Like, you're trying to make it work, but at the same time, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, let's say, bad advice also when it comes to ads, and you're just like confused, right? So your mind is essentially complete confusion, right? Everybody says something else. And this new hack is working, this new ad account structure is working, yada, 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 when in reality, you just want to make things work and grow your business, okay? That's what we ultimately want to do. So what do you do out of, desperation in a way, confusion also? You just say, okay, well, I just need to do something. Let's do what most of the people are doing, which is, going on a rant and basically saying, okay, we have to do a lot of stuff, right? We just have to do a lot of stuff. And then you follow this advice of people saying, you need to test like hundreds of creatives, right? To find something that is working, right? That's how it's working. This is how it is, right? But I mean, this is a way to find winning creatives. The question is just like, how much money do you have on your bank account ready to be burnt, right? And if the answer is not necessarily millions, and even if the answer is you have millions, you don't want to burn them. Like, you don't want to burn through all of this money, right? So there has to be a more efficient way, which I'll present to you. But essentially, what do people do? Okay, they say, oh, well, oh my goodness, we have to, work with ad agencies. Okay, because we have this amazing product, but we just don't understand how to sell it. Let's go to the experts, okay? And this is where most things go wrong, already, because what do these people do? I talk about this in many other videos on my channel, right, where I outline how you can actually run things in-house and be way more efficient and scale way faster, but that's for another video. But essentially, either it's an ad agency, or it's a freelancer, or it's also yourself. The idea, the methodology is basically to say, well, let's just try a bunch of stuff and throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. The problem with that is that behind every single spaghetti, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of money usually, and there's a lot of time that you have to invest, right? So I like to think of it from an investor's perspective, right? So I basically invest into these creatives, and I want to have some kind of confirmation before I, invest all my money and resources and efforts into it, right? So basically, what you see a lot of times, and I'm looking at a lot of accounts, on a weekly basis that I audit, you basically see that, most of these creatives that are tested are not working, right? And you maybe find one winner out of 10 creatives. And you paid for all of these 10 creatives, and you paid for somebody that scripted these creatives, or you invested time into scripting these creatives. You invested time into, finding the right creatives and creators, doing revisions with them. All of this stuff, that's a lot of investment. Plus, it took weeks, sometimes months, until you get the finished creatives that you can then test, and then you give this creative one shot, and either it works or it doesn't. Okay, so this is a huge problem, and this is what I see slowing a lot of brands down massively. Because this is just it's just a huge loss for you when it comes to speed, to agility, but also just for the results. Okay, so you're betting on this one creative to basically compensate for all of these losses. Okay, and in most of the cases, it's not the case, right? It doesn't work, right? And then you're ending up with a loss, actually, and this creative might be working for a week or so, or two, or if you're lucky, a month. But then you run into the same issue, and you have to start this whole thing, this whole process once again. Okay, so in order to avoid that, and by the way, to be super transparent, I had the same issues, right? I had the same exact issues, right? I'm coming exactly from where you are potentially right now when you watch this video. But at some point I said, okay, this cannot be it, right? This cannot be it. It's not efficient, and there has to be a better way. So what I came up with, and when I say came up with, it's essentially like what you're seeing here is validated with millions and millions and millions of ad spends in different niches, of different e-commerce brands. So from skincare to supplements to, dog supply, whatever the case may be, high-end bed sheets, it's always the same structure. And this is the one that I want you to take from this video, so that you think differently about, testing creatives and briefing creatives. So the first thing that I realized is to have success on the platform, on meta ads, running ads, is I have to have an offer that actually enables me to be profitable. Okay, this is where a lot of people already go wrong, right? And that basically, you can test how many creators you want. If you don't have a front-end offer that is attractive enough, that actually is designed to convert new customers, then you will be stuck, right? And then it's not a creative problem. So that's always the first thing that I check with every brand that joins my mentoring, where I basically help brand founders and their teams to run the acquisition in-house. We partly also help in ramping this thing up, but essentially that's the first thing that we check, right? Because if your AOV doesn't allow you to spend, let's say, around $50 to acquire a new customer, that's very difficult, right? It's going to be very difficult to scale, right? So this is really something that we optimize first. And just to give you an idea of how detailed this is, again, I'm talking about systems. I promised you a systematized, framework, essentially. This is it, right? It's we're not going to go into all of the details, but essentially, you always have a step-by-step process, right? For every single piece. The important takeaway for you now is really make sure that you have a high AOV front-end offer, okay? High AOV front-end offer, plus making it highly attractive, okay? And this is something where some people, are hesitant. They're like, oh, well, my brand, worth and brand value, whatever the case may be, I don't want to give discounts. The brands that are crushing it when it comes to direct response, when it comes to efficient meta ads, performance marketing, they're all using discounts. Okay, it's just a question how you use them. Okay, if you discount an item that costs like $40 and you give 20%, of course this doesn't work. But if you have somebody that purchases like a high AOV offer, where they spend $100 or $120, you acquire a completely different customer, right? It's not that you're acquiring like customers that are just out for something that is almost for free. You're actually acquiring high value customers that stick with you, but you're just helping them to get that foot in the door. So very, very important thing. And there's a lot more when it comes to front end offer, but just to stick to the structure, the next thing is basically that once you've validated your front end offer, right? Once you say, okay, this is the front end offer, that's the best new customer offer that I can come up with, and it puts me into a position where I can actually spend more and scale profitably. The next thing that you want to do is to understand, and this is where 90% of the brands, if not 99% of the brands, just go wrong. They don't really care about this step. They're just jumping straight to creatives, right? But before I do that, in my brands and the brands that I'm mentoring, the first thing that we do is proper research, understanding who is the customer, right? Understanding who are we talking to, who are we trying to convert, right? And then we basically test them with very, very simple image creatives, okay? Where you just have your product, you maybe have a little bit of social proof, and then you have a big fat headline that speaks to the people in a specific headline, in a specific angle, right? So you might have like, let's say 3 angles for your product, okay? So it might be, for example, when you have a skincare product or a skincare cream, it might be that it's applicable on the neck, and it might be that it works on the hands and the face, right? So against wrinkles there, example, right? So those are all different angles, because behind each of those angles, there are people of a different target audience that have a specific pain point that they're trying to resolve, okay? And we have to figure out what's the main pain point that we should be focusing on, and where we see good results, okay? And this we can do, as I said, without spending a lot of money on ads, okay? This is our goal. Without spending a lot of money on content and production, all of that stuff. This we only want to do once we've validated, okay, this is the angle, right? This is the angle that we see works best, okay? So let's say it's the neck, right? Neck for that cream. Perfect, okay. Now let's go into exploring what are actually the right creative types, okay? And this is a whole nother process. Again, there's a process for that, right? You don't have to be, misled by anybody that just tells you, yeah, it's just, you have to try a bunch of stuff and throw it. No. You always have to have a system, because this way I'm basically building on top of the learnings that I've collected, right? And then I go the next step with these learnings that I've validated, right? So it's always hypothesis, validating the hypothesis or rejecting it, and then taking the learnings into the next step, okay? So here again, what we try to do is to figure out, okay, what are the right creative types that work in our case? It's not always UGC, right? This is very important, right? You cannot just jump to conclusions, because that's the sure way to lose a bunch of ad budget, okay? And just burn it and not understand why it's not working, okay? So now imagine, before potentially you would have done like, UGC creatives, where, young 24-year-old girls are basically showing your product and doing beautiful unboxings and POV videos and 3 reasons why videos. But you would have gone completely off there, right? It has nothing to do with neck. You would find out through your research that this pain is only, relevant to women over 40. Okay, so then who should be your creators, right? If you're doing UGC, right? And those are all the things that are important to consider, okay, and to validate. That's my point, right? So here you see a couple of different, styles of creatives. Again, here we have to understand what are the ones that are working for us. Usually, we have, different types of creatives. I always say you can think in terms of you have, let's say, to simplify it, very, very simple, you have, let's say, top of funnel creatives, and then you have bottom of funnel creatives, right? Middle of funnel, of course, they're here in this section. But I want to make, the point is basically, I want to make that point clear. Our focus initially is on these creatives here. We try to do creatives that can be, pushed to a lot of people, but at the same time convert at a high rate, right? Because this enables us to fill the funnel and also already convert people in the first interaction. So don't think of these like top of funnel branding videos, whatever, that just get attention, but they're not converting. This is not what we're looking for. This is not what we're doing here. But those types of ads, in many cases, they are founder ads, well-structured UGC testimonials, right? Or just like short product videos that then lead to the right funnel, okay? Then let's go back here. Once we have that, you see now, you have a very clear blueprint that is customized to your specific brand. It's not just a one-size-fits-all, which a lot of people try to sell you. It's literally a blueprint that you have validated for yourself, for your specific case. What's the right angle? What's the right creative type? Okay? And then the last step is essentially to figure out, okay, what's the right funnel type? Okay? Once you've validated that, okay, for us what's working is founder ads plus static ads that have a lot of testimonials. Cool, perfect. Then the next step is to validate, okay, what's the funnel? Okay? Is it just a product page, PDP, or is it a listicle, right, where I educate people a little bit more? Or is it an advertorial, right, which could also, again, be a founder story, right, something emotional where people, can relate to, right? So those are things, again, hypotheses, right? I would never, in the beginning, just say, yeah, just do a founder ad and listicle. No. You don't know if it's working for you. And that's the job. This is what we have to do. And that's what most of the people that you hire, they're just too lazy to do that, right? They just use a one-size-fits-all. And this is what's really hurting your business and slowing you down, okay? So this is very important to take away. That's the last step. And finally, of that strategy, the important part is also to make sure that you look at the right metrics, okay? So this is something where a lot of people get confused again. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that, just try to make a lot of money off of you, but they're not really understanding what you're actually trying to achieve, which is you want to grow your business, right? So make sure that you're not just blindly looking at return on ad spend and attribution, okay? Because it doesn't really matter, finally. What matters is how much money do you have on your bank account? Like, is that number going up or is it going down, right? And that's why we really have to understand, there's so much that is wrong with attribution. So attribution will never be 100%. This is something that I had to also understand. It took me a couple of years, but once I understood it, it just was way easier to run a business and to run a business using ads, because the only thing you focus on is literally how much should I spend and how much should I get in terms of new customers, right? I don't care if you have a return on ad spend of 6 in your Facebook ads account and on creatives that didn't spend $500 yet, right? So yeah, cool, wow. But the question is, was that the real impact on your business? If the answer is no, then it doesn't matter, right? So this is very important, and you might be surprised when you look at some of the ad accounts that are scaling like crazy and they have a 1.2 return on ad spend in Facebook. You're like, wow, how could this work? They're losing money. But when you do the math and when you understand the numbers, when you literally look at, okay, what's the spend and what's the new customer revenue, also understanding what are the margins, right? What are the margins to look at? And how much profit are you actually making with these people in the first sale, right? First sale, and then also, let's say, after 3 months. This is the stuff that nobody's looking at. But this is the gold, right? This is where we look at cohort analysis and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into all of the details now, but I want to make the point clear that make sure to look at the right numbers. Don't look at just a return on ad spend. Don't trust attribution. Look at literally like how much did you make, how much did you spend, how much do you make in new customer revenue. If you only do that, you're already on a good track, because then you have your new customer return on ad spend, which is detached from attribution. Okay? So I hope this was like a comprehensive walkthrough of what the best strategy is for 2025 for you to scale your brand, right? More specifically on e-commerce, but you can apply these principles to any business that is running ads. And yeah, make sure to follow these steps. If you want to have, like, let's say, like a deep dive into this specific strategy where I go more deeper into every single point, you can watch this video here. I'll link it. And yeah, make sure to take a look at all my other videos where I go more in depth on these topics. And if you are, an e-commerce brand, you're, maybe spending 100K per month, or you're spending, 20K a month, 50K a month, and you want to get to $1 million a month, or get to the first 100K per month, this is exactly what I do in my mentoring, where I help brand founders, just like I am, basically to transfer all my knowledge and make it usable for you, so that you don't need an agency necessarily, and you can actually control these numbers and scale by yourself. So yeah, if that's interesting, just click the first link in the description, and then we'll see if and how I can help you. All right, hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe if you haven't, and see you in the next one. Take care.